Good morning, Friday morning, Garden of England, mild morning. So this time next week, those of us in the UK and Europe and so on, we're probably going to waken up to knowing who the new leader of the Western world is, or shall we say the leader of the free world, a phrase you like to use. To me it seems like you better toss a coin, because no matter who wins, freedoms of various different types, depending on the colour of your vote, and colour might play a big part in it, is where freedoms will be certainly taken away by both sides. That's pretty obvious to me. Don't want to go there, of course, but so we'll know that this time next week. Might comment on it, you never know. But here's my American election story, and it belongs to working with the Mars Corporation, not the planet, but that global giant of a company, the chocolate bars, the pet food, you know who I'm talking about. And I mean, they were amazing for me, to be frank. They took me all over the world. I did a course in London at the Kensington Town Hall. Some of you may remember those gigs. They were just fantastic. Both the public ones at the weekend and the business ones midweek. And 2 days. And one of their leaders came to the programme, invited me to see him. And before I knew where I was working with them in Wales. I was working with them in various places in England. Then he took me over to Maastricht. Now you may remember Maastricht, because it was the town where big EU meetings were going on when Britain was involved in all sorts of negotiations. And if it wasn't for Mars Corporation, I would never have gone there. And you know what? It's a beautiful place. Really enjoyed my time there. Did some work and had some nice quality free time there. Really amazing. They took me to all sorts of other amazing places. They took me to the Drakensberg Mountains in South Africa to do a 2-day event. What a beautiful part of the world that is. And already done stuff in Joburg and in Cape Town for another company. And they took me back to Cape Town, funnily enough, as well. Just amazing stuff. They took me to Canada, to outside of Toronto, where famously I was the keynote speaker guy, the motivational thing. Arrived early into the venue, massive auditorium. I'm going to say about 2,000 people from all over North America were there. And as I arrived early in the morning, I think the whole programme was starting at 9 for them. I was one of the big speakers kind of thing. And I like to arrive early into an event if I can, just to get a feel for what's going on in the event, what speakers are saying, what the theme is, sort of thing like that. And I'm hanging about at 8 o'clock. People are arriving and there's bags of excitement in the venue because they've heard that the guest speaker is Jack Black. So you can imagine the amazing disappointment when I come off stage, I come on stage left or whatever it was after the announcement. And there's a big sigh of almost despair in the audience. But I like to think I blew them away because I got a kind of standing ovation thing. So that was great. They took me to Nashville. And there I was working with their pet food organisation. Ran into some challenges there because a lot of the, I'm going to say born again type Christians, whatever they were, didn't like what I was talking about. It didn't go down very well with a lot of them. But that sometimes happens. But ultimately I went to their headquarters a number of times to do programmes, and here's my American election story. I turned up there to do a course in 2008. Listen to this, the date of the presidential election. And I'll never forget it. I'll always remember it, forgive me. That I get in early to the room, as I like to do, 8 o'clock for a 9 o'clock start. And there was a young woman, black woman, who came in early just to check the room or whatever. And she had a little badge on which said, "I've voted." And I said, "Wow, you've voted already?" She said, "Yes, I queued for 2 hours for opening to cast my vote. And she said, you don't have to guess who I voted for. And I'll always remember that woman's passion. But to queue 2 hours, we don't have that in the UK. No one would ever do that in the UK. But it was massive for her. And that night when it was all over and I got taken to the airport, I was in the departure lounge enjoying the hospitality, but everybody glued to the TV screens as the sort of stuff was going on in whatever news station was on. They called the flight, and by the time we got on the flight and took off, no one, it was not ready yet to know who had won. And I always remember that point when they kind of put the lights on for that early morning breakfast thing on the plane. The captain said, would you like to know who won the election? And there was a kind of big yes, yes, yes kind of thing going on over the plane, all over the plane. I was in business class, and he announced that it was Barack Obama. And I'm going to tell you this, on that plane there would be Americans, I'm going to guess other nationalities, certainly Brits going back to London from Washington, and the cheer on the plane was absolutely extraordinary, all simultaneously, just done. Everybody in that business class lounge seemed to be doing it as well. It was just an awesome moment, and I had the privilege of experiencing that. Anyway, so here's a lesson for today maybe. It's about, I suppose, for all Americans, they'll have this notion that it's their duty to vote. And of course it probably is for all of us to take responsibility for that kind of thing. Otherwise, democracy. Let's not go there. But the point is this, is you have duties. And the best application of all your MindStore tools and techniques is the application in you fulfilling your duty. And your duty is to turn up being the best version of yourself for your family, first of all for your loved ones, first of all maybe even for your immediate community, your neighbours, and ultimately in whatever you do with your life, how you express your gift and so on. We've talked a lot about that recently. I'm going to say this, it might be controversial, but who cares? I think the number one duty, especially if you've got a religious thing, is to get to heaven, whatever that means for you. And that means inevitably showing up being the best version of yourself every single day. I'm going to have a cracker. I hope you do have to. See you on Monday. Bye now. Bye-bye.